Before gods ruled men, laws ruled gods. This is the mystery at the heart of African spirituality, that even the beings we call divine, the Orishas of the Yoruba, the Neteru of Kemet, the Vodun spirits of the Home, and the Abosom of the Akan, do not operate without restraint. They are mighty, yes, but their might is measured against order. They command lightning, shape destinies, and guard nations. Yet they too bow to laws more ancient than their names. This is the throne above the throne, the principle that power itself bends to rhythm, justice, and cosmic alignment. If gods are powerful, why do they still obey higher principles? Why is it that Orunmila, the great custodian of wisdom, cannot change the destiny written in a person's aura? Why must Osiris himself be weighed against the feather of Maat? Why do the Vodun spirits demand offerings before they act, as if even divinity hungers for balance? The answer is as humbling as it is profound. The universe is not ruled by personalities, but by principles. The gods are not arbitrary rulers. They are custodians of cosmic law. The African cosmos has always been seen as ordered, not chaotic. It is a woven fabric where nothing, not even divinity, stands outside the thread. The Orishas are powerful, but their power is rooted in Olodumare, the supreme source, and they cannot transgress the boundaries set by creation. The Neteru embody cosmic forces like fertility, war, truth, and death, but they too are manifestations of Maat, the eternal order that predates their temples. They are bosom guide and protect, but they do not eclipse Nyame, the sky father who emanated them. Even the Vodun spirits, feared and revered for their immediacy, act only within the cycles of reciprocity and exchange. This is not mythology for entertainment. This is not folklore told for passing amusement. What we are entering is a revelation of divine accountability. The stories of the gods are not meant to elevate them beyond law, but to remind us that even they are part of the greater law. They embody it, reveal it, sometimes even test it, but never escape it. To know this is to see spirituality not as blind worship, but as participation in a cosmic system where everything from the smallest grain of sand to the mightiest thunder god moves within order. The laws are not human inventions, they are eternal codes, and tonight we uncover the 7 that still govern the African gods. In the spiritual imagination of ancient Kemet, nothing stood higher than Maat. Not the pharaoh who ruled the Nile, not the Neteru who moved the heavens, not even the gods who governed the cycles of creation. Maat was the principle of truth, justice, and balance, the eternal law that held the cosmos together. It was said that when Ra, the sun god, rose each morning, he did so not by his own will, but by the order of Maat. When the Nile rose to flood the fields, it was not mere chance but the rhythm of Maat at work. This principle was not an abstract concept but the very fabric of existence, a thread that bound humans, ancestors, and even the gods themselves. The most powerful illustration of Maat's supremacy comes from the story of Osiris, Lord of the Afterlife. Osiris was not an ordinary king. He was divine, a god who brought civilization, agriculture, and law to the people of Kemet. Yet even Osiris, seated as a ruler of the underworld, was not exempt from judgment. In the Duat, the realm of the dead, souls were weighed against the feather of Maat. If a soul was lighter than the feather, it was pure and could enter eternal life. If heavier, burdened by falsehood and wrongdoing, it was devoured by Maat, the eater of souls. What makes this story extraordinary is that even Osiris himself, the divine king, underwent this weighing. His heart, like all others, was tested against the feather. A god, judged by law, divinity itself measured by truth. This story is more than myth. It is revelation. It tells us that no god, no pharaoh, no ancestor escapes the reach of truth. Power is not enough. Authority does not guarantee exemption. Maat is higher than personality, higher than charisma, higher even than divinity. It is the eternal balance that keeps the cosmos from dissolving into chaos. When Maat is honored, order is preserved, kingdoms flourish, and the Nile flows as it should. When Maat is broken, disorder spreads, truth collapses, and even gods stumble. The priests of Kemet understood this. That is why Maat was not just recited in rituals, but embodied in governance. Pharaohs were not merely kings, they were guardians of Maat. Their legitimacy rested not on lineage alone, but on their ability to uphold truth and justice. To rule unjustly was not only political failure, it was cosmic treason. Even the mightiest ruler could fall if he defied Maat. This belief created a moral order where no one, not even a god or king, could escape accountability. The image of the scales in the Hall of Judgment is perhaps one of the most enduring symbols of Maat. Imagine Osiris himself, heart in hand, standing before the feather. This is not a tale of humiliation, but of cosmic humility. It shows us that all beings, human, divine, and ancestral, are bound to truth. And in this truth lies freedom. For when order is maintained, all things find their place. The gods act justly, the rulers govern wisely, and humanity lives in alignment with the universe. To reflect on Maat is to confront the foundation of all law. It is to see that power unchecked is not power, but destruction. It is to understand that justice is not invented by humans, nor imposed by gods, but written into the cosmos itself. And it is to remember that once truth is abandoned, collapse is inevitable. For without Maat, there is no balance, no order, no world, only chaos. This is why, in the end, even the gods bow their heads before her feather. In the worldview of the Yoruba, destiny is not an accident, nor is it something given haphazardly by the gods. It is chosen, and the one who chooses it is none other than the soul itself before birth. This choice is carried and embodied in what the Yoruba call Ori, the divine head, the inner divinity that shapes the course of life. Ori is not the physical head alone, but the spiritual compass, the seat of destiny, the personal aspect of the supreme force that each being carries. To align with one's Ori is to walk the path one has chosen in the pre-existent realm. To stray from it is to struggle, to wander, to live in conflict with one's own essence. In this cosmology, not even the gods override the authority of Ori. It is ultimate because it is the divine in its most personal form. The myth of Orunmila, the Orisha of wisdom and divination, brings this truth into sharp relief. Orunmila is revered as the custodian of Ifa, the system of knowledge and divination that reveals hidden truths and the order of the universe. His wisdom spans past, present, and future. He guides kings, protects nations, and interprets mysteries. Yet even Orunmila, with all his knowledge, cannot change what has been written in an individual's Ori. He does not alter destiny. He only interprets it, reveals it, and offers a counsel on how to align with it. If a man is destined to be a healer, Orunmila may confirm and guide him on that path, but he cannot rewrite it into that of a king. If a woman's destiny carries trials before triumph, Orunmila may prepare her, but it cannot erase what her Ori has chosen. This myth is a humbling one. Even the wisest Orisha bows to the authority of destiny, for Ori is supreme. Among the Igbo, the same principle is mirrored in the concept of Chi, the personal divinity, the fragment of God assigned to every individual. Chi is the spark of the Creator within a person, the guide and witness to their destiny. Just as the Yoruba honor Ori, the Igbo honor Chi, believing that it is the truest measure of one's path. To rebel against one's Chi is to fight the very structure of existence, while to honor it is to live in harmony with purpose. Chi is often described as both companion and judge, walking with each individual yet holding them accountable to the destiny chosen before birth. Even the gods respect Chi, for it is not separate from the Creator, but a direct extension of divine will. Together, Ori and Chi reveal a profound truth about the African understanding of life. Destiny is not arbitrary, nor is it something the gods themselves control at whim. It is written before birth, inscribed into the very being of the soul, and remains untouchable even by divinities. This is why the Yoruba say, Ori lababo, kafi ori sasili, meaning it is Ori we must worship before we worship the Orisha. Without the blessing of Ori, no sacrifice to the gods holds power. Similarly, among the Igbo, one cannot ignore Chi, for to dishonor it is to walk in blindness. The law of destiny teaches us humility. It reminds us that power, even divine power, is not absolute. It shows that life is not a random collection of events, but a journey along a chosen path. And most importantly, it affirms that within each person lies the highest authority of their existence, their Ori, their Chi. Not even the gods can override what is written in your essence. They can guide, they can counsel, they can bless, but they do not rewrite. To live in harmony with destiny is to live in peace, but to resist it is to struggle against the very order of the cosmos. In the spiritual traditions of Africa, the relationship between human beings and the divine is never one-sided. It is not the case that gods simply command while humans passively obey. Instead, the relationship is built upon exchange, a sacred reciprocity that sustains both realms. This is why offerings, libations, sacrifices, and prayers form the heartbeat of African spirituality. To give is not bribery, nor is it a way to flatter the gods. It is the maintenance of a cosmic cycle, the acknowledgement that energy must flow in balance. Just as the rivers must return to the sea and the rains must return to the earth, so too must human devotion return to the gods, who in turn return blessings to humanity. The Yoruba traditions preserve powerful stories that illustrate this principle. Shango, the Orisha of thunder and lightning, is both revered and feared. Known for his fiery temper and his uncompromising sense of justice, Shango embodies power and authority. Yet even Shango requires offerings to act. In one tale, the people of a town grew negligent, enjoying the protection of Shango without honoring him with their sacrifices. They believed his power was theirs by right, not by relationship. In response, Shango withdrew his favor, and soon thunder and lightning raged against the community, striking fear into the people. Crops failed, misfortune spread, and despair filled the land. Only when the community came together with libations, sacrifices, and songs of praise did Shango relent. The storm ceased, fertility returned to the fields, and balance was restored. This story is not simply about appeasing an angry deity. It is a reminder that even the gods require feeding. Power is sustained through energy, and energy must move in both directions. Among the Vodun traditions of West Africa, the principle of reciprocity is even more explicit. The Vodun spirits are not passive beings waiting to be called upon without acknowledgement. They are forces that respond when honored and withdraw when neglected. This is why libations of palm wine, offerings of kola nuts, animal sacrifices, and chants are central to Vodun practice. The spirits are invoked not only through words, but through nourishment. Without these offerings, the spirits retreat, their presence dimmed in the affairs of humans. When fed, however, they act with force, protecting communities, healing the sick, and guiding the living. In this cosmology, the gods themselves depend upon the cycle of giving and receiving. They are not omnipotent beings who demand worship for ego. They are participants in a larger exchange of energy that sustains both worlds. This law of reciprocity is not confined to Africa. It echoes in the universal law of balance. What you give, you receive. What you withhold, you lose. But African spirituality makes it visceral, embodied in the daily practice of libation, sacrifice, and ritual. It is an economy not of money, but of energy. It recognizes that nothing thrives in isolation. The gods are powerful, but their power flows through relationship. The people are vulnerable, but their vulnerability is shielded when they honor that relationship. To understand this law is to understand that worship is not flattery and sacrifice is not loss. They are investments in balance, in connection, in the continual circulation of life force. Without reciprocity, relationships decay, whether between humans or between humans and gods. With it, harmony endures and both parties are nourished. Even the gods, mighty as they are, depend upon this cycle. They give, but they also receive. They bless, but they also require. This is not weakness but wisdom, a recognition that power itself is sustained by exchange. Reciprocity is not a law created by men to control religion. It is a cosmic principle that keeps the universe alive. To ignore it is to invite imbalance. To honor it is to participate in the eternal rhythm of give and receive. And in that rhythm, gods and humans alike find their strength. In the cosmologies of Africa, creation is rarely told as a story of a singular being bringing forth the universe out of nothing. Instead, creation often begins with pairs, with duality, with balance held between opposites. Among the Dogon of Mali, this truth is captured and their profound teaching of twinship. According to their cosmology, the first beings created by Ama, the supreme god, were twins. Twinship was the perfect reflection of cosmic balance, the harmony of complementary forces working in unison. The universe was designed not as a singular vibration, but as a dual rhythm, night and day, masculine and feminine, sun and moon, order and freedom. To exist was to live in the tension and beauty of polarity, and to break this balance was to invite disorder. This is why the myth of Ogo, the Dogon trickster, is so pivotal. Ogo was created as one half of a pair, meant to be balanced by his twin. But in his impatience and desire for independence, Ogo attempted to act alone, breaking free from twinship. He stole the seed of creation and sought to fashion the universe according to his own will. But in doing so, he brought disorder, impurity, and imbalance into the cosmos. His rebellion was not simply against Ama, but against the principle of duality itself. The result was chaos, a world fragmented, incomplete, marked by struggle. From this story, the Dogon teach that no being, not even a divine one, can thrive outside the harmony of polarity. To deny twinship is to deny balance, and to deny balance is to bring ruin. The Yoruba Orishas echo this law in their very nature. None of them is purely one thing. Each embodies forces that are balanced by their opposites. Obatala, the gentle, cool-headed Orisha of creation, stands as a counterbalance to Sango, the fiery and tempestuous Orisha of thunder. Where Obatale brings patience, Sango brings action. Where Obatale cools, Sango ignites. Neither is complete without the other, for creation needs both gentleness and fire, both patience and passion. Likewise, Ocean embodies love, sweetness, and fertility. But her power can also manifest as wrath when balance is disturbed. She is not simply softness, but the union of gentleness and fierce justice. This duality ensures that divine power does not collapse into one extreme, but holds the tension of opposites, shaping a fuller, truer form of strength. The law of duality teaches that gods, like humans, are not made of singularity. They embody polarity. They are fierce and gentle, creators and destroyers, protectors and challengers. Power without balance becomes chaos, as Ogo's rebellion shows. But power held in duality becomes generative, fertile, sustaining. It ensures that creation continues, that justice remains tempered by mercy, and that love is strong enough to endure trial. To meditate on this law is to recognize that no force, however divine, stands alone. Everything requires its counterbalance. Without darkness, light blinds. Without heat, cold destroys. Without one twin, the other is incomplete. The African cosmos insists that strength lies not in dominance of one force, but in the harmony of two. Even the gods reveal this truth, for in their stories and their actions, they remind us that balance is not weakness. It is the very ground of power. In African spirituality, divinity is never cut off from its source. Gods are not ultimate beings that exist in isolation, detached from the origin of all things. Instead, they are threads woven into a greater fabric, extensions of a supreme order that transcends even the power. This truth is at the heart of the law of ancestral continuity, the principle that even the gods answer to source. It reminds us that no being, however mighty, exists outside the lineage of creation. Just as humans look to their ancestors for guidance and blessing, so too do the gods trace themselves back to the Creator, the ultimate fountain of existence. The Akan cosmology of Ghana captures this beautifully. At its heart is Nyame, the supreme sky father who exists beyond form and beyond limitation. The Abosom, the deities who govern aspects of nature and human life, are not independent rivals to Nyame. They are emanations, channels through which Nyame's power flows into the world. An Abosom may rule over rivers, fertility, or war, but it does so only as a delegate of Nyame's authority. This is why the Akan always recognize Nyame before any other spirit in prayer. The Abosom are powerful, but their power is borrowed. They are not supreme in themselves, but reflections of a higher light. To forget this is to mistake the branches for the root, to confuse the echo for the voice. A similar truth emerges in Yoruba tradition. Consider Ogun, the Orisha of iron, war, and technology. Ogun is among the most feared and revered of the Orishas, for he opens the path with his machete, clears obstacles, and embodies raw, unstoppable force. Yet even Ogun, with his terrifying strength, bows to a higher principle. Above him is Olodumare, the supreme being, the source of all creation. Ogun may act with might, but he does not act without the authority of Olodumare. The myths remind us that when Orishas quarrel or contest one another, it is Olodumare who resolves the matter, for all are ultimately subject to the supreme. This places even the fiercest warrior deity within the chain of continuity, reminding us that the gods themselves are not the final stop in the hierarchy of existence. The law of ancestral continuity reframes divinity not as competition but as relationship. Each god or spirit is part of a family tree of power, a continuum stretching back to the source. Just as no human exists without ancestry, no god exists without origin. The Abosom are sons and daughters of Niame. The Orishas are extensions of Olodumare. Even the Neteru of Kemet, radiant with cosmic force, embody aspects of the primal unity that existed before the first act of creation. They are mighty, but they are not supreme. This law carries a profound reflection. No God is ultimate. All are bound in continuity. All are connected to something greater. To revere them is not to worship power in isolation, but to honor the source shining through them. It is to understand that divinity is relational, that all beings, immortal, ancestral, or godly, participate in a chain that leads back to the Creator. To forget this is to fragment the cosmos into rivals and tyrants. To remember it is to recognize that power is always borrowed, always flowing from an eternal fountain. In the end, even gods bow their heads to the one from whom they emanate. For without source, there is no current. Without a root, there is no branch. And without the Creator, there is no creation, not even the gods. In African cosmology, nothing happens without a cause. Every act, every event, every blessing, and every misfortune is rooted in a chain of reasons, visible or hidden. The gods do not act on whims, and spirits do not move without cause. This principle is known as the law of causality, a law that ensures the universe remains ordered even when it seems chaotic. To the uninitiated, a lightning strike may look like random destruction, a sudden illness like meaningless suffering, or a blessing like sheer luck. But within African metaphysics, these events are never disconnected from reason. They are the ripples of deeper currents, expressions of imbalance or harmony in the cosmic order. A powerful example comes from the Yoruba stories of Sango, the Orisha of thunder, fire, and divine justice. Sango was known for his temper, his fiery energy, and his ability to unleash thunderbolts from the heavens. There is a tale of a village that fell under his wrath, struck by violent storms that destroyed homes and scattered the people in fear. To the villagers, it seemed like Sango had acted out of fury alone, punishing them without warning. But when the diviners were consulted, the truth was revealed. The community had abandoned their obligations to ritual and truth. There had been dishonor among the elders, injustice in dealings, and neglect of offerings. Sango's thunder was not a random outburst. It was the visible manifestation of imbalance in the spiritual fabric of the community. When the people repented, restored justice, and renewed their offerings, the storms ceased. What looked like chaos was in fact causality, divine law expressing itself through thunder. This principle is not confined to the Yoruba. Among the Igbo, the practice of Afa divination reveals the same truth. When misfortune strikes, the Dibie or diviner consults Afa to trace its cause. A child's sickness, a crop failure, or conflict in a household is never seen as meaningless. It is understood as rooted in spiritual imbalance. Perhaps a neglected ancestor, a broken taboo, or an unresolved offense. Similarly, in the Yoruba world, Ifa divination serves as the diagnostic tool of the cosmos. Through the casting of palm nuts and the interpretation of sacred verses, the Babalawo uncovers the hidden reasons behind events. Nothing is without a traceable root. Even punishment from the gods is not arbitrary, but follows patterns encoded in destiny and balance. The law of causality reminds us that chaos only appears lawless. What looks like chance is often the unfolding of cause and effect, the echo of actions past and energies neglected. The gods, far from being whimsical tyrants, are bound by this law. Their punishments, their blessings, their interventions all follow principles. If rain falls or fails, there is a reason. If wars are won or lost, there is a reason. If blessings flow or dry up, there is a reason. The task of the priest, the diviner, and in the seeker is to uncover that reason, to align with it, and to restore balance. This law is both humbling and empowering. It strips the universe of randomness and replaces it with accountability. It shows that divine order governs all, that no act is wasted, no event without meaning. And it reminds us that in the cosmos of Africa, even the gods act within law. Their power is not erratic but principled. Their wrath is not reckless but just. Their blessings are not favoritism but balance. To live in this truth is to walk with reverence, knowing that every step ripples outward, and every ripple will find its return. In African spirituality, divinity is not frozen in time. The gods are not distant beings fixed in perfection, untouched by growth or transformation. Instead, they are dynamic, evolving, and interwoven with the lives and memories of the people who honor them. This is the essence of the law of becoming, the principle that even the gods are in process, that divinity itself is shaped by memory, worship, and destiny. The cosmos is alive, and within it, everything from human souls to spirits and gods is unfolding. Becoming is not weakness, it is the rhythm of existence. Among the Dogon of Mali, this principle is expressed through their cosmogram, which shows the cycle of descent, growth, and return. The spirits, like souls, do not remain static. They descend into the material realm, engage with creation, and then ascend again, transformed by the experience. Existence is a spiral, not a straight line, and even divine beings are participants in this cycle. They too must grow, must embody lessons, must evolve as they engage with humanity and the cosmos. This belief radically reframes the nature of gods. They are not omnipotent rulers, but cosmic participants, beings who mature through their interaction with creation. The Yoruba tradition confirms this truth in its stories of the Orishas. Some Orishas were not always gods, but were once humans, ancestors who lived such powerful, extraordinary lives that they ascended into divinity. Shango is the clearest example. Known historically as a mighty king of Oyo, Shango was said to have wielded immense power and authority in his reign. After his death, his spirit did not fade into obscurity, but grew into legend, then into worship, until he was recognized as an Orisha, the god of thunder and lightning. His divinity was not preordained, but cultivated through his memory, through the power of his life, and through the devotions of his people. The more he was remembered, the stronger his presence became, until he was no longer just a king, but a god. This transformation illustrates that gods too are in a state of becoming, shaped by the intersection of destiny and human memory. This law teaches us that worship is not one-sided. Just as humans are nourished by the presence of the gods are strengthened by the remembrance of humans. The songs, prayers, offerings, and rituals of the people keep their names alive, and their power grows through alignment with human destiny. A god forgotten is a god diminished, while a god remembered is a god renewed. This is why oral tradition and ritual are vital. They are not simply acts of devotion, but acts of creation, keeping alive the very essence of divinity. In African cosmology, memory feeds immortality, and gods thrive where they are remembered. The law of becoming reminds us that divinity is not an endpoint, but a journey. The gods evolve as humans evolve, their stories expanding, their roles adapting, their presence deepening. They are not rigid beings, but fluid, alive within the pulse of time. To honor them is to participate in their becoming, just as they participate in ours. This reciprocity ensures that life, spirit, and divinity are always moving, always growing, always unfolding. Even the gods are becoming, and in their becoming they teach us that to live is to grow, to change, and to ascend. From the beginning of this journey, we have uncovered a truth often forgotten in modern times. Power, even divine power, is not absolute. It is shaped, guided, and restrained by eternal laws. These laws are the throne above the gods, the order into which every being, mortal, ancestral, or divine, must bow. Through the myths and cosmologies of Africa, we have seen how these laws manifest, not as abstract principles, but as living truths woven into the stories of gods themselves. We began with the law of Maat, the eternal balance of truth and justice, where even Osiris, lord of the underworld, was weighed against the feather. We moved to the law of destiny, where Ori and Chi remind us that not even Orunmila, custodian of wisdom, can alter what is chosen in the soul before birth. We saw the law of reciprocity illustrated when Shango withdrew his power until offerings were restored, showing that gods too depend on the cycle of giving and receiving. The law of duality reminded us of the Dogon story of Ogo, who brought a disorder by rebelling against twinship, teaching that balance, not singularity, sustains the cosmos. The law of ancestral continuity showed us that even mighty Ogun must bow to Olodumare and the Abosom to Niame, for no god is supreme apart from source. The law of causality revealed that thunder, illness, or misfortune are never random, but carry reasons traceable through divination, with Ifa and Afa serving as cosmic diagnostics. Finally, the law of becoming taught us that gods themselves evolve, as in the case of Shango, a human king elevated into Orisha, showing that divinity is a process shaped by memory and worship. Together, these laws reveal a profound truth. The divine does not exist outside order. Even the gods bow to the throne of law. This is not to diminish them, but to remind us that power without law becomes chaos, and that the strength of gods lies not in arbitrary command, but in the embodiment of eternal principles. And now, I turn this reflection into a prayer, spoken in the way our ancestors prayed. May Maat weigh your heart with truth so that you walk in balance. May your Ori and your Chi guide you unfailingly toward the destiny chosen before your birth. May reciprocity fill your life so that what you give returns to you multiplied in blessing. May the balance of dualities hold you steady in the dance of opposites. May the ancestors watch over you, reminding you always of the source from which all flows. May causality reveal itself to you, so that no trial feels meaningless and every struggle carries wisdom. And may you, like the gods, embrace becoming ever growing, ever unfolding, ever rising into greater light. As you reflect on these truths, I invite you to honor them in your own life. These laws are not stories of long ago. They are codes still alive, shaping your destiny and guiding your path. Walk with them, live with them, and see how order blossoms around you. If this journey has stirred something within you, I ask you to honor the circle of reciprocity here. Like this video, leave your reflections in the comments, and subscribe to continue walking this path of wisdom with us. To my audience, I give thanks. Your presence, your listening, and your spirit feed this work, just as worship feeds the gods. May we continue to walk together in truth, balance, and becoming.